Hello, welcome to today's presentation of the Penn State Alumni Association's Travel Showcase. I'm Kelly Morganti, Assistant Director of the Alumni Travel Program, with yet more great 2023 destinations. For more than 50 years, the Penn State Alumni Association has been offering group travel. This week, I have been showcasing 3 destinations a day with one of our trusted travel partners, and today is no different. Today, we will be taking a closer look at cruising. Based on the features made available in your audience console today, you can view slides, hear presenters via the main stage, chat with other attendees, find additional resources, links, and more. To access closed captioning, please click the CC button located within the main stage. We would love to know where you're joining us from. So click the chat icon at the bottom and tell us where you are now and where you would like to go next. Following this event, you can email questions to alumnitravel@psu.edu. I'm joined today by GoNext President and CEO, John Weeks. Hi, John.
How you doing, Kelly?
I'm good. So GoNext has been taking Penn Staters to some great destinations on board some of my favorite ships for about 10 years now. Tell us a little bit about GoNext history with Penn State and the relationship that GoNext has with Oceania and American Queen Voyages.
Absolutely. Once again, let me just say, first off, that it's great to be here. It's great to be talking about travel. It's great to be talking about upcoming trips. It's great to be talking about things that are even happening now, which is very exciting. And to kind of have a lot of what we do and what our guests dream to do to be able to come to fruition again. So this is a real treat and a real privilege. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Interestingly, I noted during your intro, 50 years for Penn State offering alumni travel. We are also celebrating our 50th year in business. And let me just say, from one 50-year anniversary to another, it is a real testament to the fortitude, to the resilience, but also to this undesirable quests that people have to travel, to see the world, to experience new cultures, to just broaden their horizons. And again, it's wonderful today to be able to talk about these upcoming trips.
I think any type of travel is certainly an education, and that's what our travelers are looking for. They're looking to learn something. Sometimes it's through lectures, sometimes it's through, specialized speakers, and other times it's just through a destination and what they've gotten to experience. Yeah.
And as we've been now probably really more routinely running trips now for almost a year, after about the year pause that we all kind of felt. And I think it's been now great to be able to bring groups really to all corners of the world. We've brought people domestically in the last year, but we've also been bringing groups to some pretty far-flung places as well. And it's just great to see that just unquenched desire to keep traveling. Yeah. The two of the 3 trips that I'll be talking about, 2 of them are with, or 3 of them, but they're with 2 different one of our longtime suppliers. And I'll get into those a little bit more, but these are suppliers that have been, that a lot of your alumni will probably know from previous travel, and other partners of ours that have continued to operate great trips and have a lot of really exciting things coming up as well. So that'll be very good. You can go to the next slide, please. So as I said, we're celebrating a 50th year anniversary, which is pretty exciting during the calendar year of 2022. It began with a cake we had on board one of our sailings back in January that one of our travel partners have put together for us, and we'll be kind of marking this milestone throughout the year. But it's very exciting to be able to do that when, in so many ways, this industry is really now just coming back to life. It's very exciting. And I think through all this, I think we have learned, and we always probably were to a high degree, but more now than ever before, when you travel with GoNext, you're traveling with a team that is really adaptable and responsive. Things are changing, still changing, I would say frequently. And we need to do our best to keep our guests up to date so that they can travel with the greatest of ease, with the greatest of comfort, with the greatest of safety. But because of that, people have trusted us to come back and to travel and to be able to see the world once again. As I was sharing with Kelly earlier, we actually have 2 groups right now in Europe, 2 groups right now on Mediterranean sailings. And so it's just great to see the reports, hear the reports of people having a great time once again. Next slide, please. A lot of, I think, what makes our travel programs interesting or desirable is that we really do offer our guests a really high degree of flexibility. We can have the same group traveling together on a given trip, but that people can modify their experience because it is a cruise, because we are on the water, that if we pull into a certain port of call, some people might choose to go do a museum tour in a certain port of call, and others might focus on more of a culinary experience. But yet they can all come back together at the end of the day, maybe it's during happy hour, and share their experiences. And so that's been really neat for us, just to see the wide variety of interests that we can cater to, but yet on the same travel program, traveling together. All of our vessels I'll be talking about today are all what you would call small to mid-sized ships. And I think that was important to us before the last couple of years, but it's probably even more important now. It always gave us the ability to go into smaller ports, to have more unique itineraries, to be able to do things that really some of the bigger ships would never be able to do. And now it means something a little bit more. Now you are traveling in a smaller groups. Now you are with a smaller number of guests. And now you have kind of more room amongst the ship to yourselves. So I think that really has been beneficial to us the last couple of years, that we really are more on a small ship pattern. If we're cruising anywhere within or around the US, it's probably less than 200 guests. And if we're now talking about, and we will be talking about 2 different Mediterranean itineraries, yes, we're either talking about a 684 passenger vessel, which by and large is pretty small, upwards of 1,200 guests, which is still a pretty small vessel, which gives them lots of opportunity and for socialization, but also some pretty good space and some pretty good comfort.
Yeah, I think you and I have both talked about this in the past. We've both sailed on some pretty large vessels, the 3,000 plus range. And I truly enjoy something a little smaller than that. So these 1,200 passenger ships that you offer to us, we're right up our alley. I mean, it's what our passengers were looking for. They don't want to be hurted. If you've ever been on a cruise and you've tried to get off of a 3,000 passenger ship to go on an itinerary, on an excursion, you're just back to back. It's like hurting. Where these are much smaller, most of your ships can pull right up into port and they don't have to be tendered. I know that there are some ports that still need to be tendered, but most of them you can pull right up into port so that you're walking straight onto land. It's really very nice. It's a great size ship.
Yeah. My experience before cruising with these 2 brands was lines. You would wait in lines often. Yes. And I think this affords people the chance to do all of those good things, but you don't really, lines on board don't really exist. And it's right. Just a really, really comfortable way to travel.
Right.
And with each of these tours, we will give guests the opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into what we would call the arrival and the departure city on each one of these trips. So many times, if we're doing a program, let's say from Barcelona to Rome, people don't really get the chance to experience either of those 2 cities. And so we do offer our own pre and post programs. That is something that Go Next is doing. And again, I think it's something that more and more people have interest in, because it just helps take some of the stress out of travel. If they can arrive somewhere a couple of days early, rest, get relaxed, and then embark the ship. And then they're in a much better position than just arriving the same day and having to quickly go out to the port.
Yeah, and flight delays and stuff are so common. Whether you're traveling from, the thriving metropolis of State College here, or from Chicago, flight delays are just becoming more and more of an issue with the airlines. So the pre and post trips that you all offer, extensions, are fantastic. And who doesn't want to spend a couple extra days in Rome?
I think it sounds pretty good.
I do too.
Next slide, please. So as I said, we'll talk a little bit now about our exclusive partnerships that will be featured on these 3 different trips. Next slide, please. The predominant one is Oceania Cruises. For many people that have been, many people probably watching this presentation have probably sailed before or would be familiar with Oceania Cruises if they've traveled on a Penn State travel program. Again, this is the small ship cruising, a very high staff to guest ratio. They, when they launched, it was very unique that they were saying, we just want people to be comfortable on board. There's not going to be any formal nights. This is going to be what they would call country club casual. Now it's kind of more resort casual attire, but they really just wanted people to be comfortable, to feel like they were home, and to be able to be relaxed.
No tuxedos and ball gowns.
No tuxedos and ball gowns. Maybe what I'm wearing right now might be, even overdressed sometimes for dinner, which I do think people do appreciate after.
They do, yeah.
And then we will talk a little bit about the cuisine, but they've done a really remarkable job just to, the 24-hour room service. The soft drinks are included, water's included, juice, tea. There's an English tea service at 4 o'clock every day. And that's before we even get to the main dining opportunities. Again, they have been pioneers and innovators when it comes to the culinary experience at sea.
Yeah.
And I'll show a couple slides of a couple of different restaurants that many of your alumni might recognize right away as potentially some of their favorites. But
like Red Ginger?
Red Ginger is going to be one for sure. They really have set off to be and to create the finest cuisine at sea. And that passion and that commitment has really been unchanging. And I think anybody that has traveled before, it really is apparent, and it delivers all the way. They also were the first to introduce a real culinary studio at sea, where guests could sign up and actually prepare dishes alongside some of the executive chefs. That has been tremendously popular and a first of its kind. Now their sister brand has it, but still they're in a category unto of themselves to have such a spot to be able to do.
Yeah.
Next slide, please. So the Marina is going to be the ship that's going to be featured on the romantic coastlines sailing, which we'll be talking about here in a moment. Again, 1,250 guests to staff ratio of 1.7 to 1. Again, that resort casual. And again, this is the ship that does have that culinary center, the first ship ever to have such a thing, which is this hands-on cooking school at sea. They also have, in partnership with Wine Spectator, they have it's a multi-course, maybe 7-course wine pairing with a dinner. That's unique to this vessel as well. But on all Oceania product, they have a number of enrichment programs. This particular picture here has to be baristas, or happens to be baristas, which is the place that you can stop in throughout the day and get an espresso, an Americano, a cappuccino, whatever it might be. One of the innovative but very popular spots on board this ship. Next slide, please. And then the other, Serena, this is going to be on the program that we're going to talk about for the October trip.
Yep.
This is the program that goes to Greece and Turkey. This is a smaller ship, a sister ship, but a smaller ship, only 684 guests. And again, still resort casual. It'll have a lot of the same look and feel of marina, but just on a smaller scale. Next slide, please. I did include just a couple interior images so people could see really the elegance, the style of the accommodation. I think on any of these 3 vessels we're going to talk about today, you will feel like you are in I would say a 5-star hotel.
Yeah, they're really very comfortable staterooms.
Yeah, and they are. And they just even announced, I just saw an announcement earlier today by Oceana Cruises that they're now already re-inspiring marina, and which will then have a whole new look and feel before this sailing romantic coastline sails in 23. So it just continues they continue to innovate and to do a lot of new things that I know our guests will really enjoy. Next slide, please. This is one of the specialty restaurants on board, and also unique. Oceana Cruises does not charge anything to dine in a specialty restaurant. People always would assume, there's an upcharge or there's a surcharge. That is not the case. Again, one of the popular restaurants on board Serena. Next slide, please. And then Kelly already mentioned it, Red Ginger, and this is one of the restaurants that was probably the most innovative when they designed marina initially, and quickly went to the top of the list in terms of the one that people were continuing trying to rebook.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
And then next slide, please. This is the grand dining room. And they're all going to look a little bit different between Marina and Serena, but as you can see, this is where most of the guest dining experiences will be, in style, in luxury, the beautiful chandelier overhead. Again, they've just done an incredible job continuing to keep all of these vessels fresh, innovative, and a place that people want to be. Next slide. Our other partner that we're going to be talking about today is American Queen Voyages. They operate, I think it's going to, let's see, 5 vessels, either within the U.S., the rivers of the U.S., or on the coasts of the U.S. This particular picture here is of the Ocean Voyager. Not one of, I'll have a different picture for the one that we're going to be using on the bourbon themed trip. But they're all 200 passengers or less, or in the case of the one for the bourbon themed trip, that's going to be about 180 or 170 guests or less. But again, the nice thing is, and what really works well for Go Next, is if people have traveled with us before, whether it was even on Oceana or on American Queen Voyages, it's going to feel the same. It's going to be a similar experience. They're not going to feel like, oh, these were wildly different accommodations or everything else. It's really going to feel very, very comfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
And what they do a little bit differently, a little bit more, is they do have complimentary wine and soft drinks are available with dinner as well. And then what really makes them unique, and we'll talk about this a little bit further, is they have a very unique program. It was very innovative at the time, called Hop On, Hop Off. And where they do have a series of branded motor coaches that operate, and in any given place that we visit or port, let's say along the Ohio, Mississippi River, maybe there is in that particular port city 4 or 5 key destinations or key places to see. One might be a museum, one might be something outdoors, maybe it's a park or something that people would want to see. Maybe it's, so it just varies what we might want to be doing on this particular trip. And they will just run motor coaches in a loop. So guests truly have the freedom and the flexibility to visit any one of these places for a short period of time, for a longer period of time. And this is all complimentary on this particular trip.
And then there's also excursions that they can join in as part of, certain ports that they pull into.
Correct. There are excursions, but there aren't many because they can cover so much with hop on, hop off. You would get a very good feel, say like of the city of Memphis, with just a really good hop on and hop off tour. But to your point, Kelly, if you want to go to Graceland and just spend 4 hours, well, then you would be looking at an excursion.
Right.
So there's some pretty good options there. Next slide, please. And this is a vessel. This is the American Countess. So this will be the vessel that we're going to be using for this trip. And this is a rendering, but I do have some pictures coming up. This ship actually launched in March of 2021, and I had the fortune or the good luck of being able to be on the christening sailing. So other than this picture, the rest are actually all taken from my iPhone. So those. But then so that you can go to the next picture, but this is again taken from my iPhone. This is kind of the grand hall where people would gather before and after a busy day. You can see there's a little bit of a bar in the back left, and then a lot of picture windows along the right-hand side as well. A stunning, most people, when they walk on board, they're like, wow, I just could not have imagined something like this was on the Ohio River or was on the Mississippi River. This is a real luxury experience, and the guest satisfaction has been really, really positive.
Good.
Next slide, please. This is the main dining room, where they do have more of they have like a seated dining service, but then they also have at times, you can either do that, or you can also do more of a quick style option for dining. And they have like more of a buffet service in back for people that just want to get grab a po' boy sandwich and get on their tour. Next slide, please. This is just a shot I took of the library. Next shot, or next slide. And this is actually the main lecture and entertainment hall. So there will be enrichment lectures that are going to be presented throughout the trip, as well as evening entertainment. So there's plenty of room. People can come into the state-of-the-art venue and sit very comfortably and be able to watch or be able to listen into an enrichment program. And next slide. And this is just a picture of a stateroom. One of the staterooms on board the American Countess.
And that's a pretty standard stateroom on board.
This is a very standard stateroom.
Right.
Yeah, there's very few actually categories available on this particular ship. And yes, this is a very standard stateroom and a very nice stateroom. Yeah. We'll really enjoy it. And that's a full size like sliding glass door there. So it's, again, they have lots of options and in many cases, very nice verandas as well. And next slide. And this we had talked a little bit about this earlier. This is actually two of the motor coaches that they would have used along the Columbia River, but this is what they will be also doing the same. So it says American Empress because that's the vessel that they use on the Columbia River. Ours is the American Countess. So it's the same thing, a different name, American Countess on the side, but this is what they will be using. And these motor coaches really do follow the ship down the river. So you'll go to bed in one port of call, wake up in the next, and these same motor coaches are there, same drivers, ready to greet the guests, and then to begin the touring throughout the day.
Right.
Okay, with that, couldn't help but mention a little bit of a culinary aspect as well. I think so many, and I think Kelly, you would probably agree that one of the great joys of traveling and really in so many ways getting to know a place that you're visiting is the whole culinary experience. Yes. And it's been a lot of fun, whether you're traveling in Spain or Italy or Greece, or even throughout the Midwest, you actually get to maybe have some dishes or some treats that are different than what we might be used to. And so it's really great that on any one of these voyages, the culinary is at just such an outstanding level. and guests really do appreciate that, and they really do enjoy it.
Yeah, my motto is I work so that I can eat, drink, and travel. So this is right up my alley on all this. And, besides for the great destinations that you get to visit on these trips, my favorite part of cruising with Oceania is the fantastic food.
Yeah.
And what better place to sample any of that food than is on a Mediterranean cruise. So let's talk a little bit about that Barcelona to Rome cruise.
Sure. Next slide. So as I conclude, or as I'm talking about these 3 trips, I'll talk a little bit more about some of the pre and the post cruise trips that we offered. And again, this is what Go Next would offer either before or at the end of each one of these trips, just to be sure you have a chance to really explore and have a more in-depth experience. Next slide, please. And then one final thing, I think, obviously, as we are in this world that we are in, I think health and safety has really become and is a paramount activity amongst tour operators and amongst all of our travel suppliers. And only to say that, these are evolving protocols. The protocols will be evolving, hopefully not month to month, but at least quarter to quarter, because sometimes a little bit of change is less, just to keep track of it all. But currently with any of these trips that we'll be talking about now, vaccinations are required, and not even so much by the suppliers themselves, but just because of the countries that they visit. Testing is required prior to commencing the trip. In some cases, there has been reduced occupancy, but as time goes on, those occupancy limitations are going to start to get relaxed and released. Face coverings, mask wearing becomes something that is sometimes on and sometimes it's off, and it just kind of depends more than ever now. The places that we visit, country by country, that tends to be a little bit changing. But then on board and offshore, we are able to create, and this is, I think, why many people have returned to cruising, this kind of bubble environment where they know anybody within this bubble has, met these guidelines as well. And that gives people a lot of comfort and a lot of confidence in their upcoming trip.
And, it's really hard to navigate on a day in and day out basis, what countries, what suppliers are requiring what. And the fact that Go Next does that for our travelers and keeps them up to date. I think I saw 2 emails earlier about some changes. One was a relaxed status on a trip. The other one was just a reminder about, what is going to be required. So the fact that Go Next is taking on that burden of keeping track of all that, so our travelers don't have to.
Yeah, I think more and more people, especially now as they want to travel, are looking to companies like us, because it's I can't imagine trying to do this on my own.
It's daunting.
Yeah, especially as you know, not just getting into where you're trying to visit, but if you ever move around,
right?
And it is nice to have, whether it's a tour operator like us or even our suppliers say, okay, hey, tomorrow we're going to be in France, and just so you know, here's how things are. Here's what we need to do before we arrive France to get ready for that visit.
Yes, and we're going to have a link to some of this to one of your sites, that's sort of a place where our travelers can go to be updated, and that's in our quick link section down below. So
Sure.
People can take a look there and check out and see what it is. But I would check it often also. Yeah,
and I think one of the big innovations during some of the break that we experienced was a lot of the ships, vessels have been retrofitted to really move more air and cleaner air throughout all of these ships as well.
Good.
Which people really feel good about that too. Well, next slide. Well, now we're gonna, I think, finally get into some of the meat and potatoes of the presentation and actually talk
about the fun stuff.
Bring up the fun stuff. It is, I will say, I think, whether it is talking about one of our trusted partners, Oceania Cruises or American Queen Voyages, all of their fleets are all completely up and running as of today.
Yeah.
American Queen Voyages had all of their river-based vessels operating as of last summer.
Right.
And Oceania Cruises has all of their ships operating as of this month.
Yeah, one of the first trips that we had go out with Penn State after the world started to reopen was a Mississippi River cruise, and it went very well.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's really been a lot of fun. We've learned a lot. Everyone's learned a lot through the experience, but people do really want to go, and they can go and really enjoy some of their greatest things, some of their greatest passions.
Good.
It's really been great to see.
Good.
Next slide, please. So the first program we're going to talk about is the romantic coastlines. And again, this is on board Oceana Cruises Marina. Next April 20th to the 27th. So this is a 7-night sailing. And if you look at the itinerary, it really is a best of the Western Med style itinerary. Penn State, Kelly chose some very good trips here. The 2 trips I'm going to talk about don't overlap at all. And that's really nice. One is very Western Med and one is very Eastern Med, and both have their own.
So you could do both.
You can do both, and you can do both because they're also nearly 6 months apart.
Yes.
So you have that going for you as well. So the neat thing about this trip, it will feature some marquee ports, as you can see from this map, places like Monte Carlo, Barcelona, Rome, Florence, even to the ones that are a little bit more boutique. And you'll always kind of see that mix of the big places that you know you want to visit and have off your bucket list, but also some places maybe you didn't think about, like Cinque Terre, where that is a real jewel of anybody that gets to visit the Cinque Terre, that is a real jewel of the Mediterranean. Next slide, please. So the embarkation port for this sailing is Barcelona, Spain. And if people have an opportunity to do one of our pre-cruise programs, Barcelona is, I think for many people, if they visited, they probably haven't been there only just once.
Right.
To Barcelona multiple times. And there's more to do there than you can possibly do in one visit. Our guests have an opportunity to experience the magnificent Gothic cathedral of La Sagrada Familia, not only from the inside, but they can also have an opportunity to go inside, or not only from the outside, but they also can have an opportunity to go and look at it from the inside. And this is one of Gaudi's most unfinished masterpieces. There's other famous Gaudi structures, including the old Gothic quarter, and then the Rambles, which is Barcelona's famed downtown promenade. So Barcelona is a wonderful place, a wonderful port city, and a place people want to return to time again. Next slide, please. And I'm not going to talk about every port of call, but I'm going to probably talk about just some of the main ports of call along these itineraries. Again, Provence is the port stop is actually Marseille, but then from Marseille, there is so much that people can do, and they can go and visit the old town in historic Marseille, which most people pass over, but it is a really neat town, as well as the fishing port of Cassis, or they can venture into Provence and its fields of lavender and sunflowers. They can explore Aix or stroll through Avignon and visit the Papal Palace. It's always been a big bucket list for many of our guests and a great experience. Next slide, please. Monte Carlo. Again, this would certainly fit the description of a place. If you haven't been there yet, you're going to really want to get there soon. It is a really glamorous, glitzy, unique place along the Caribbean. People can drive along the famous roadway with the stunning views of Monte Carlo in the old city, and then stroll through the marvelous quarter in its pink Grimaldi Palace. There's the casino that everybody wants a chance to be able to see when they're in Monte Carlo. But from here, if people want to, they can venture, doing any number of different optional excursions that are available to them and visit old villages along the sea, from Nice to Ez to Cannes, and then even go up to visit St. Paul de Vence, kind of an old artist town that's all reachable from the port city of Monte Carlo.
Okay.
Also featured, next slide please, on the sailing is the Cinque Terre, which we spoke about just briefly before. As we make our way across the Mediterranean Sea, we get to Italy, and this is one of the ports that greets our guests. It is a town of these like 5 stunning little villages, mostly only visited or being able to be seen by sea. So many people, the more adventurous, can take a hike along the coastline, and others like myself might want to do the boat tour and just look at these from the sea. But also there are some that allow you to also stop at one of these towns and walk around. I remember having a wonderful lunch in the Cinque Terre.
I had margarita pizza in Margarita.
Yeah, that's about perfect, I'd say.
Yeah. It was wonderful.
And then another port of call, featured port of call along the sailing, thank you, is Livorno, which is a great jumping off point to see Tuscany. And within Tuscany, there is a lot to see. So from the port city of Livorno, people can go all the way into and visit Florence to see Michelangelo's magnificent David bridge over the river Arno, or the Uffizi Gallery. These are all tours that would be available for people to purchase. Or they can head the other direction and visit Pisa and the Campo dei Miracoli, and the beautiful cathedral and the famed Campanile, or the what people would refer to as the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Or go further into Tuscany and visit Siena and San Gimignano. So there really is unlimited options to see Orno all throughout Tuscany. Yeah. And the only shame of it is you just have one day to do it. So
I was going to say, you sort of want to spend more time there.
Yeah, so you have to pick which one of those options you want to choose. And then lastly, this program, as we said, begins in Barcelona and it concludes in Rome. And I've been to Rome a few times in my life, and I can't wait to get back. I would love to see what it looks like now. And with a Go Next post-cruise tour, people would have the chance to visit the Roman Forum. If they haven't yet already seen the inside of the Colosseum, they'd be able to do that. Many people have driven by the outside, as well as St. Peter's Basilica and Michelangelo's Pietà in the Sistine Chapel as well. So just so much to do. This is, again, a great classic Western Med itinerary that Go Next has offered for years.
Yeah.
We really know how to do this, and we even know how to guide people's journey so they can get the most out of a trip like this.
Yeah, I love Spain and highly recommend the pre-tour extension in Barcelona. You know, the food, the art, the architecture there is amazing. So certainly if you have the time to add a day or two before and a day or two after, I highly recommend that. But let's go ahead, let's move a little bit closer to home and let's talk about cruising on the Mississippi River.
Yep, so this is what we would call a heartland journey or bourbon experience, which is more of a themed departure. And it actually features both the Ohio River, where the sailing begins, and then sailing down into Memphis, which is on the Mississippi River. So it's a really neat experience. It's in the middle, or not quite the beginning of summer, June 4th through the 13th. With a really, again, you can see the starting price, very attractive, very approachable. I mean, not only are we traveling in comfort and in style, but we're also doing it at, you know, again, just a really attractive price.
Right.
So this program this particular program does include a 2-night pre-cruise program and hotel stay where we really start off this bourbon experience with a bang and really get it moving in a really unique way. So what we're able to do on this this pre-tour is take a break from the past, the present, and the future, and we're going to be actually staying at the iconic Brown Hotel located in Louisville, and then take a trek down the Bourbon Trail. We can't do the whole Bourbon Trail, but we're gonna do as much as we can.
Just a little sampling.
A little sampling of the Bourbon Trail. People can always go back.
Yes.
It begins with a private tour of the Bardstown Distillery, and then to probably a more well-known bourbon highlight would be Maker's Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Also be able to do a kind of an exclusive tour of the Stitzel Weller Distillery as well. And this is all done in one day. So it's a busy day, it's a full day, but for the bourbon lovers, but even not so for the bourbon lovers, people will be able to learn a lot and just a whole new viewpoint, I guess, on this part of the American history. From then Louisville, we sail, and again, I'll just go through a couple unique ports of call, so you can advance to the next slide, please. We will be in one of the, I think, it's always interesting because I think I've done a few river cruises before, and I think people are surprised how much history is right outside their back door.
Yes.
Little towns that we may have heard of before or even never heard of before, when you actually have a chance to visit them and experience them, there is so much that is being offered there. So next slide, please. And one of those, and the next slide after that. And one of those would be like Paducah, Kentucky. This is actually the home of the National Quilt Museum. So again, whether you are a bourbon fan or you are just want to have a sailing that experiences the Ohio and the Mississippi River with Penn State, this is a really unique opportunity. So this is the home of the National Quilt Museum, and this is one of these places that would be on the hop-on and the hop-off trip. So it's going to go to a few of these places while we're in Paducah for the day. People can also see it's 3 blocks of murals, these flood walls that now have been taken over by artists, and it's this 3-block history that people can see of this part of the river, which is really pretty unique. Next slide, please. And then that ultimately brings us to Memphis, Tennessee, or the sailing actually ends in Memphis, Tennessee on the Mississippi River. And then, and again, this is going to be our program that we're going to be offering at one of the, at an iconic Memphis hotel. But we're going to have people, give people the opportunity to experience Memphis as well through some tours there. And again, Memphis is just a treasure trove of American history, civil rights history, music history, and our people will have a very full experience when they get a chance to really delve into Memphis, Tennessee, which is the end point of the sailing itself.
Yeah, nothing says, you know, Middle America more than quilts and bourbon. Yeah. We are very, I'm going to ask Sarah to take us one more slide. We're very fortunate for this. An added bonus for our travelers on this is going to be Penn State faculty member, Dr. Kirk French. He's going to accompany this trip as the host. He's presented at several Alumni Association events, including Huddle with the Faculty for anybody here in State College that's very well known. And then his anthropology of alcohol class is very popular, shockingly, among our students. So I'm sure that he's going to be able to add his own spin and a lot of information to this trip. So we're very excited and very honored that he's going to be able to do this. So yeah, so let's go ahead and let's head back across the pond. We'll leave behind the catfish and sweet tea, and let's go and explore the Eastern Mediterranean.
Perfect. All right, this is the last sailing that I'll be talking about, the last program that I'll be talking about. And this is probably one of our most successful trips the last couple of years. Even probably the last 5 years, there is such an interest and such a desire to visit the Greek Isles and the Turkish Riviera. And now this is going to be on Oceania's smaller vessel, Serena, 684 guests, and October 24th to November 3rd of 2023. All the way from Istanbul in port almost every single day, and then ultimately arriving into Athens. So if you just look at this, this is a lot of places to get to in about a 10-day period.
It's a full itinerary.
It's a full itinerary. I'm visiting some absolutely gorgeous places. And I forgot to mention earlier, whether it was this or the previous sailing that we talked about in the Western Med, these programs do include free airfare.
Yes.
And now they also include free airport transfers.
Yes.
Free internet. And then people then can choose if they want to participate in some free shore excursions, a beverage package, or a shipboard credit. So, people might choose in certain ports of call to do a tour, or they might choose in other ports of call just to walk off the ship and experience the port on their own.
Yeah, and that's on all Oceania cruises. That was for that first one that we talked about, the romantic coastlines, and then also this Greek island Turkish Riviera trip.
Correct.
Yep.
So again, I'll just go through and talk about a few, I would say, of the more, what do you call more interesting? Because they're all going to be very interesting, but maybe some of the well-known or the less well-known ports of call along this itinerary. So next slide, please. So Istanbul, Turkey. Again, another a bucket list item, and probably more of a bucket list because this may be a place that you visit, but maybe this is a place that you visit just once. It is a further destination. It's further afield, but it is a beautiful city that we've been bringing groups to for years, and people just love it. It's just rich in history, culture, and kind of that bridge between Europe and Asia, and so many influences converge on this destination.
Yeah, people
just love it. So they can they can see and people would recognize like the Blue Mosque is very popular. Some people want to go out for a simple cruise to visit like the Bosphorus Sea, which would just be kind of more of a one-day option for them to be able to experience that. And then, and of course, you probably could not come to Istanbul, Turkey, without also experiencing the Grand Bazaar.
Right.
So we're going to be offering likely a 2-night Istanbul program.
Good.
So that people can experience the city before embarking in Istanbul and then sailing on through the Turkish Riviera and the Greek Isles. That's
fantastic.
Next slide, please. This is actually one of the sites seen from Rhodes, Greece. So from Rhodes, again, enjoy a walking tour of the old fortified city, and visit the Master's Palace. And you can also see where the Colossus of Rhodes once stood, and even savor the charm of this remarkable walled town. Or drive along the scenic coast to Lindos, and this is where this photo is taken here from, which would be like an excursion from Rhodes. So again, just a stunning place to visit in one of the, I think, most appealing and attractive parts of the world right now to be able to go as well. Next slide, please. And this is Antalya, Turkey. From here, people have a chance to discover this delightful ancient town and its many treasures and artifacts and Ottoman mansions. So a very unique stop with its Byzantine churches and mosques. And then people may also choose to visit the ruins of Perj and Aspendos, or imagine while they're doing that too, just the deep history of these various cities along the sea. and then also to have a chance to stand in awe of this Roman architecture, this Roman theater, and then the crumbling aqueduct nearby. Next slide, please. And then a unique place to be able to get to is Cyprus. Not only are they going to be in Greece, in Turkey, but also be able to experience Cyprus with the port city of Limassol, Cyprus. Limassol is kind of the jumping off point to be able to go and visit, in this case, Paphos. So they can see the ruins, the mountains, the scenery, the stunning beaches, the vast groves of lemons, oranges, and olives, which sounds amazing right now. Sitting
It does.
Minneapolis, Minnesota, as we're still trying to emerge out of spring.
It's an ongoing spring. We've just decided to extend it into June.
I'm not sure what happened. When I see pictures like this, I know these places exist, and I'm ready to see something else these days. And I think so many people are. So many people are ready to have their senses enlivened again through what they can see through travel. But again, just one of the other really unique ports of call visited on this itinerary. And then the cruise takes us all the way to Athens. And again, I've had the chance to be in Athens a couple of times, and I can't wait to go back. This is where, and you can see it in this image, the Acropolis sits atop this perch. Also having a chance to visit the Parthenon, the beautiful temples, and the view from this standpoint over the city of Athens. You can see the old and the new Olympic stadiums, all in Athens, as well as a journey out to Cape Sunion and the Temple of Poseidon, over the sea, or even be able to visit the very famous and narrow Corinth Canal, which is an amazing thing to see as you imagine all the seafarers that made their way through the Corinth Canal over the years.
Right.
This would be. Go ahead, Kelly.
This is a full itinerary. There's a lot there's a lot of ground that you cover, and the nice thing is, if you get there and you get on board and you unpack and you just wake up in a new city every day. So it's very nice. It's a very nice way to travel. And again, the Sirena is probably one of my favorite ocean sailing ships because of the size. That 680-ish passenger capacity is fantastic. You don't feel like you need a map to get around the ship. So it's fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And that's it. That really kind of concludes my presentation of these 3 trips. But again, just want to say how fun it is and inspiring it is to be talking about travel, to be talking about these destinations, and to look at these beautiful images and imagine and dream of all being able to get to these places real soon.
And the fact that we know we have travelers out there right now that are experiencing this, it really does. It's been a hard couple years for the travel industry, but we are making a comeback. Our 2022 bookings are doing phenomenal. 2023 is already starting to take off for us. We've got a number of trips that have reservations on them. We have a total of 8 trips with Go Next for the 2023 season. And we'll have links, all of those links are available on our regular website, but you'll see down below in our quick links, we have links to the trips we talked about today, as well as the health and safety link that Go Next keeps updated on a very regular basis, or Oceana. So I think that, make sure that you check out those down there. John, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for taking the time to come and talk with me today. I'm packed, so should you ever need somebody to, go check someplace else, I'm available.
It's time. Let's do it, Kelly.
Yeah, let's. But yeah, Go Next and your partner certainly make seeing the world in comfort so easy that it's just, who doesn't want to cruise? It's a great way. So again, to view more information or to make reservations on the trips we discussed today, check out the quick links button below. Should be located somewhere on your console menu. All of our remaining 2022 programs, as well as all of our 2023 trips, can be found on our travel website at alumni.psu.edu/travel. I hope everybody who joined us today enjoyed the presentation, and you take the time to visit our webpage for even more virtual opportunities. Remember, I'll be back again tomorrow with some great destinations like Iceland that are on the agenda. All of our virtual travel programs are recorded, so if you would like to view any of our previous presentations, you can find them at alumni.psu.edu under the Events tab at the top of the page. A link to today's session is going to be emailed out to everybody here, but check back with us tomorrow. We hope to see you then. Have a great night. I hope to travel with you soon. Bye.